morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. I don't know what it is. I'm battling with getting my throat going in the morning. But yeah, it is, it's been quite an adventure these last few weeks. Today we're on episode 37. Let's celebrate that. I'm very thankful to be able to do this every single day. It is really keeping me sane and, giving me a lot of purpose. I was just chatting to Terence offline on WhatsApp. He was asking, how's it on my stoop? And I sent him a picture where I was still sitting about, 10, 12 minutes ago. And, it's really just trying to slow down as well at the same time. I don't know how you find things currently and, how much pressure you feel that you're under or not, and I think often we are creating that pressure ourselves. And also I said to him, when you have so much purpose, then that's what's driving you. And you just keep on going and you do and you do and you do. But we need to be sort of cognizant about having some balance, and balance doesn't mean that you need to have balance every single day. Maybe you just need over time, over a week, there needs to be balance. Anyway, so we can have a chat about that in another episode as well. Maybe get a little bit more personal as far as that is concerned. But that is where I am this morning. This morning we talk surveys and polls, really getting feedback from clients and knowing how they rate your services and what they think, getting their input and all sorts of stuff that we're going to get into. So I'm going to look at why it is important to actually consider that. Where do you start? There are like 10 questions you need to ask yourself, or 10 questions that you need to answer before you can get started with all of this, and then what are the different ways we can distribute these surveys? How do we get them to the people that we want to ask these questions to? What are the options? How do we create it? How do we look at the results and what happens after that? So that is sort of the thing that I want to go through today. So there's quite a lot, but I'm excited to get into it. It's really like when I sat down yesterday and after I recovered, basically, because what you don't know is that yesterday I went to bed at 4 a.m, got up at 6 to do the show or to get ready for the show. And I was really, really tired yesterday. So I had a couple of meetings afterwards and then I went to sleep. So I caught up last night, watched 2 movies with my wife, did a bit of stuff in between for this morning. So yeah, it was one of those days. And so hopefully today I'm back on my toes and ready to go and give you some great value today. Just before I get going here, I just want to make sure that you'll see, if you're on YouTube, you would have seen there's a link there. If you can just go there, even if you're on LinkedIn, if you can just in your browser or on your phone, excuse me, just go to francois.co.za/poll and just complete that. It's completely anonymous. I won't know who you are. So it's just one question. I just want you to complete that. And even if you're watching the recording, it'll be open. You're still able to go and do that. So thank you very much. So first off, thank you guys, everybody that's here. I'm going to start with LinkedIn this morning. It seems a little bit quieter this morning. I don't know if people are getting tired or if it's the weekend or what's happening. But over on LinkedIn, I've got Slanganani. Good morning, Slanganani. Thank you very much. You've been here almost every single day now. I really appreciate the support, brother. And I hope it's going well with you. Kobus Klein, good morning, Kobus. 37 out of 37. I must say that every single time. Welcome. Alan from Cadis, welcome. Nice to have you here. Jaco van der Merwe, welcome back. Jaco, nice to see you once more. Yichubai, welcome. Frans Hatting, goeiemorgen, Frans. Neil Phillips, good morning, Neil. Neil sent me a very nice email yesterday, and I really, really appreciate that, Neil. So thank you very much. So that's at the moment. So yesterday I had somebody asked me, like, you didn't greet me. Did I do anything wrong? No, it's just that sometimes I look at LinkedIn and what I see here and I go back to watch the replay sometimes, then I see there were comments that I didn't see during the live stream. So it's not that I don't want to greet everybody. Sometimes if there's a lot of people, I can miss people. So I'm sorry for that. Also, if I need to greet every single person every single time, we may be, because we get more and more people watching, it may take me longer to get through those. So sometimes I need to stop so that we can get through the content that we need to get through. So if I ever don't greet, it's not because I don't appreciate or because there's a reason behind it. Sometimes it is just what it is. Alrighty, so good morning over on YouTube. Good morning, Kobus. Already said morning to you. Raymond, good morning once more. all the way from South Broome. And Terence also said good morning. He said that he needed his coffee before he can go, as I asked him what's going on, he said, when I have my coffee, then it's a good morning, but before that, it's just good morning, guys. Having some fun here on the chat. I want to echo what Kobus is saying to Terence here in the chat to say, well done on his Twitter game. I think his overall social media game has really been going well. What I'm always looking at is that what are people posting? Do they get engagement? Are they able to start a conversation? Are they asking the right questions, or are they saying, I don't want to say saying the right things, but are they sharing their opinions and their views about things, and are people responding to that? So that's usually the stuff that I sort of look at. And if I look at what Terence has done over the last couple of months specifically, but he's been busy with this for a long time, learning, getting to try things, etc. So I must just echo what Kobus is saying. Terence, just keep at it, my friend. You are doing great in that sense. Rizaan, good morning. Goeiemôre. Welkom terug. Denise Snell. Denise, nice om jou weer so te sien. Thank you very much for joining us. Then let me see quickly. So at this point, Kobus is saying the most effective survey tool is SurveyMonkey, and we'll get into that. I'm going to talk about that's one of the tools I'll talk about. And then Terence says thank you. Let me see. Hannery, good morning. Welcome terug, Hannery. Malcolm Hendricks, welcome back. Nice to have you here once more. And we've got Tinus Brits terug. Daar sê Tinus, goeiemôre. Hoe lyk dit in Bloem vanmôre? Dis mos Bloem as ek nou reg onthou. Bongi, good morning Bongi, welcome back. Nice to have you here. Kevin, welcome back once more. I hope you're going to enjoy this. I know you love the tech stuff. And then, sorry, Terence, it is the truth. People can look up to you and see the way that you're doing things. I think you're setting a great example of how to do it professionally. So sorry, brother. We'll use a small spotlight, not a big one, if that makes you feel better. All right. So then back to a few household or housekeeping things. Obviously, say hi if you join, please, whether you're over on LinkedIn or here on YouTube. Please say hi. Good morning, Johan Marais over on LinkedIn. I don't see any other good mornings there, but please do that. Then remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. Or if you're over on LinkedIn, you're more than welcome to connect with me. If you operate anywhere near the financial services space, or whether you're an accountant, tax practitioner, or you're a broker, consultant, advisor, planner, manager, franchise principal, so whatever you do within financial services, you're more than welcome to connect with me. And or even if you have a small business, if you're on your own, doing your own thing, more than welcome to connect with me. So those are the people that I can help and that I can serve. So yeah, I'm not in financial advice. I don't give financial advice, and therefore, yeah, I'm very particular about the guys that it would make sense to connect with one another from that point of view. And so please don't take that personally if you don't fall within that scope. But even if you just feel like you're getting value from what we do, because in one of the episodes I shared with you how much value we can get from other industries and from what other people are doing in completely other types of businesses. So we can learn a lot from one another. This is not to say that we can't add value to one another. So you're all welcome to do that as well. Alrighty, then please remember to react to the video, like it on YouTube if you're over there, or on LinkedIn. Please hit one of the reactions there. It'll be great. And then just once more, if you can, just quickly do the poll. You can just go to francois.co.za/poll. It's just a one question thing. It's anonymous. I won't know who you are, but there's a reason why I'm doing that, it's part of today's conversation. And I want to show you what that is all about. Alrighty, then lastly, I've got an announcement to make. So obviously, you know about the business assurance refresher that's coming up on the 6th of May. But what is great is that, so part of Ignite, if you are an Ignite member, obviously you're paying less for these refreshers and for courses and those kind of things. And I've also partnered with Profile Me as a benefit to Ignite members. So Ignite members will get a QR code, with our compliments. So you can get a QR code. Usually it's an additional fee to get that. You'll be able to get that now with our compliments. And but also what I'm going to be doing is to allow, because I've partnered with Rizaan, is to also give discount to people who are Profile Me clients, but they're not Ignite members. So if you're an Ignite member, you'll pay 300 Rand. If you are not an Ignite member, the normal price is 350. But should you be a Profile Me client and you're not a Ignite member, then you'll pay 315 Rand for that. So we give you a bit of a discount there for being a Profile Me client. So thank you very much. So if you are, you can get more information through Razan, or you can just contact us directly. But on the form where you book, it'll ask you, are you an Ignite member? If you say no, it'll ask you if you're a Profile Me client, and depending on your choice, it'll work out whatever it is that you need to pay for that. So I just wanted to let you know that today. I think it is awesome. You can go to www.francois.co.za/online refresher. And we've really had a great response so far. So if you can, please join us. There is CPD involved, so you will get CPD. The application is going in today. And so I'll be able to let you know by the end of next week exactly how many, because previously I said how many we think, but then I got a rap on the hand because I was naughty. I'm not allowed to say anything until I've got my approval. But, it's like underwriting. If you've been in this business long enough, you sort of know what the outcome is going to be. So I can confidently say that you will get CPD. It's just a matter of how much. All righty, so enough with the marketing and letting you know what's going on. Let's get into the show. Good morning, Arun. Welcome back. Nice to have you here. Arun, by the way, I'm working on the tax tool today. Casper Sitole, welcome, Casper. Thank you. You also connected with me recently on LinkedIn. I appreciate it. Welcome to us. Whoever's no. The Ignite members get the full discount. If you're not Ignite, you just get the Profile Me discount. So no. All righty. Cool beans. I'm very excited to get into today's show because I think it's going to be very, very practical. It's going to be. I'm going to focus on how to sort of the entire process of what you need to go through, and why you need to do this if you want to, the different options you've got. But then I'm going to show you how to actually do it, and I'm going to show you when the results come in what that looks like. The Insta poll. I want to make it as easy as possible to show you. What do we see? What can you decide from that? And I'll share one of my recent surveys with you, where I asked about these refreshers, what would you want? And at that point, the meaning was to determine whether people want face-to-face or online, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to show you the interesting results we got from that, and the way that I approached that and what my thinking was behind it, so you can get an idea. All right. So let me bring this stuff up there, and then we can go like this. Share, boom, boom. And then I will just go. How's that? I'm going to go back there. All right. Cool stuff. So first off, where do we start? I mean, I guess you need to ask the question is like, why do this in the first place? Right? Why do we want to incorporate surveys and polls? And let's just take a step back and say, well, what is the difference between a survey and a poll? Well, very simply, it's basically the same thing. The only difference is that the poll is just one question usually. So you'll ask one question with different options that they can answer. And I'll go through the different methods and things that you can do that. But basically, what you saw today with the poll that I gave you, or that I requested that you just go and complete, that was one question. There was multiple questions, and you can choose whether you can answer just one, or you can have multiple answers, or you can include another field there if the option that if they want to give you another answer, they can always go with other. But a poll is one question. Like typically, if you want to say, please rate my service, that is actually a poll. But yeah, and depending on the tools and things you're using, you can do weird and wonderful things with this if you wanted to. If somebody gave you a rating below a certain, then you can open another question to say, okay, why is that the answer? But anyway, so one could explore that further. Well, why do we want to incorporate these surveys and polls and things in our businesses? And it doesn't matter what business you're in, guys. Whether you're a financial planner, whether you are an accountant, tax practitioner, whether you run a home appliance repair shop, it doesn't matter. Whether you sell beds, it doesn't matter what you do. There's a number of reasons why you would want to use surveys or polls with your clients to determine quite a number of things. And the first thing is obviously satisfaction. So you want to know, how satisfied is somebody with your services, with your products, and then you can get very specific if you want to. but you need to be, and I'll go through the questions that you need to answer yourself to be able to determine, sort of, are you going to use a poll or a survey? But ultimately, it is just a question of like, what do I want to know? Is, well, how satisfied are my clients with what we're doing currently? Okay. Then obviously we want to get some suggestions and ideas from them, because how do we make things better? It's great if everybody says to us, okay, no, your service is not good, then you need to work on your service or whatever that they rated. But what if we keep getting great ratings? How do we get better? And it is the only way we can get better is by refining our processes and our advice and those kind of things, and the products that we offer, maybe our pricing models, everything around your business. But unless you get ideas and suggestions from your clients, it's going to be hard. And the problem is that if you can ask them individually when you meet with them the same question, how do you collate that information and have a broad overview of, oh, here's a trend forming. Everybody's talking about, like, we want access to our information. We want access to our information. But if you heard it individually and it's all in each person's file, the chances of you seeing that trend is really not great. Also, if you want to test ideas, so maybe you've put some things together, and I think that is what Terence is doing very well at the moment. He's asking. I know he's building like this. I hope it's okay, but I mean, it's in the Twitterverse, so I can say this. He's building this one-page report or one-page plan for a client. And he's asking them different things of what do they want to know? How do they feel about things? So he's testing out different things. He'll probably, when he's done this, do a couple of see a couple of clients and then present this to them and get their feedback. So there's these kind of things that you could do with this. Then also, if you want to determine preferences, if you want to know how people prefer you communicate with them, do they want their things in writing, like on paper, or do they want it electronically? A whole host of things. I think like, what do you like to drink? If you really want to up your experience, ask your clients, what do they like to drink? Because maybe all of them say gin at 9 a.m. and you're offering them coffee. So you need to know what they want. So preferences are very important. I don't know what else. I mean, in the comments, you can say, well, what else do you think you can, or what have you used it for before? Maybe there's a few things that I haven't mentioned right now. So share it with us in the comments. You're welcome to do that. Cool. So let me just see quickly. There is a comment over here. Khomotso is just saying, good morning, Khomotso. Nice to see you. Thank you for being back once more. I really, really appreciate it. And so then, I mean, where do I start? And for me, if you want to, where do you start? You answer yourself these 10 questions. Hope you're enjoying your coffee. So there are 10 questions. Okay, the first thing that you need to start off with is, what is it that I want to know? What am I trying to find out? What am I trying to determine? Because unless you know exactly what it is that you want to know by the end of the survey, you can't really design the survey. You won't know what questions to ask, what type of questions to ask, or anything like that. It may be also that you only want to target a particular section of your client base, or maybe you just want to target the general public. So it could be from a group of people already in your business up to the public and anything in between. So it's very important that you know that so that you can do the rest of the designing and creating of the survey. Now, obviously, you can do this yourself. You can get somebody to help you with it. You can get marketing companies to do this for you. So there's a whole range of things. Most advisors, I think, would try and do this themselves initially and sort of figure out how this works and what is it that they want to know that's going to be valuable to them in their business. One of the things that treating customers fairly is requiring is that you need to be able to show that you are treating customers fairly. And really one of the best ways to do that is to get their feedback and to understand, ask questions around that to know whether they feel that you're treating them fairly. And then obviously in your daily processes and things, because everything around TCF needs to be demonstrated. But a very powerful tool would be to use something like this. All right, next question is, what information must I ask? You also need to decide, like, whether this will be anonymous, like I've done the poll today, or is it important that you know who's answering you? In certain circumstances, like in training, for example, I prefer to know who the person is that gave me the feedback, because it doesn't help you rating me badly and I can't speak to you to understand how I can make it better. And I had this situation at a PPS training event in 2016 where somebody rated me not well. They rate me like totally different from the rest of the people. And I picked up the phone and I phoned and I asked her, why did you rate me a 2? Everybody's a 4 or 5. Why are you rating me a 2? I need to understand that. And she said, no, because I make jokes in Afrikaans and she doesn't understand Afrikaans. It's a very small thing, because obviously there's Afrikaans people in the room. And I usually I say the Afrikaans thing and then I immediately say it in English again. But it wasn't a nice experience for her. So that made me aware of that, and I now do it a lot less. So unless you get that kind of feedback, so there was nothing wrong with the content. There's nothing wrong with the way I presented. There's nothing with the value, no issues. The only thing is I was saying things in a language that she completely did not understand. And it's important. And unless I get that feedback, I couldn't make it better. So I'm very appreciative of those kind of things, but the same in your business. All right, so that is what information to ask. And if I say what information is, do I want their name and their surname, their telephone number? It's like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like in a survey we should ask, what age are you? Are you between 30 and 40, 40 and 50? If there's a reason for it, ask it. But don't just ask it just for the sake of I want to know, really. Okay, but then what questions must I ask? Because there's a difference between the information you want and the questions you then need to ask, because the information is more to identify the person that has given you the feedback. The questions is now talking towards what it is that I want to know at the end of the survey. The next question is, which question types should I use? Because there's many different question types. So I don't have enough time to go into this, but I'll show you when I go into the programs what the different types are. But basically, is it multiple choice? That's easiest, and I'll talk about why that is important. But multiple choice with only one choice, you can only select one answer. Do you want to be able to select multiple answers for a particular question? Is it in a matrix? Is it a rating system? What else? Is it free form, free text? Those kind of things. Those things are all important. But I'll show you when we go into the systems in a second. Then the next thing is, do you want free form versus selection of specific answers? And the reason why you would rather want specific answers is then you can analyze it properly. But if you just ask a question and people can just type whatever back to you, it's going to be very hard to form or to recognize any trends, because all the answers are different. You can't get percentages, you can't draw lines, you can't do anything like that, because the answers are all different. But if you give everybody the same option to select and they can just choose the different ones, then you would be able to form that kind of, or your analysis would be so much better. So only use free form when really, really necessary. You'll see that a lot of times people use that at the end to say, is there anything else that you would want to share with us? So those kind of things, or so forth. So how can I keep the questions to a minimum? That is very, very important. You don't want this. People don't, if they know it's going to take them half an hour to complete a survey, I promise you chances of them completing it is absolutely, unless you pay them or give them some form of an incentive that they can win something, or if they complete it, they will get this book, or they will get that audio book, or you give them something. In other words, you're bribing them to complete this thing basically, or rewarding them for completing this. Chances of them doing something like that is null. Okay. So keeping it as short as possible. What is the shortest way to get to the answer that you're looking for? So you don't want to ask unnecessary questions. Then number 8, is how will I distribute the survey? How can you distribute the survey? How will you get the survey once you've created it to the people and to the right people that's supposed to complete it? And I'll look at the different options in a second. How will you collate the answers? So how are you going to get everything into one pot so that you're able to analyze it? Because ultimately you're going to sit with 10, 100, 1,000 separate answers, or separate surveys that were completed, and how do we get them all into one sort of pot so we can analyze them? And then lastly, how will I analyze the answers? What am I going to do? We're going to use a spreadsheet. Does the tool that I'm using provide me this, or do we need to go through them one by one and then sort of try and analyze them? What is the approach going to be? So those are the 10 questions that you should ask yourself. And I'll make this available afterwards. I haven't yet. I just need to put it into a little document. I'll send it. I'll make the 10 questions available for download. I will let you know the link. Then I'll just send a WhatsApp, with the link, so that you can download those questions, and you can do it like that. Okay. Whoever says one of the important things with the survey is to ask the right questions without opening a can of worms. Yes. And also, I think one of the things that you need to be very careful of with surveys is that you don't lead people to the answers you want them to give you, because you can ask probing questions or you can ask leading questions. And if you're asking a leading question, is like, it'll be something to the effect of, you don't like to smoke, do you? That kind of thing. Okay. So you don't want to ask that kind of question. You want to be open and let them decide what the answer is, and give you the real answers. That's very important. Let me see. Sureta, goeiemorgen. Nice to have you back. Neil says, Neil Phillips, being bombarded by surveys from the product providers is very annoying, as they want you to rate every interaction with their employees. Total overload. That is a very important point you're making there, Neil. Because if you send it too much and you request it too much, then people are not going to complete it, because this consulta panel or so, I don't know where the hell they got my email address, but they're asking me about banking, and those things are long. Okay. It's not quick to do that. So they've obviously built up like a database of email addresses, and now they're asking for feedback on different things, and they use my time to sell their research to someone else. But in your client base, what I would do is to definitely say you have an annual survey. Okay. And I'll show you like a poll, if you want to rate my service, how you can do it. Like, so the client has the option to click on it. It's not in their face. It's not asking them directly to do it. It's just there. If they want to do it, they can do it. But once a year, then I think you should definitely do that. Or if there was a significant event, like a claim that paid out, I think it's a great opportunity to do this. The other thing about surveys and polls that I didn't even put on the list is you could use this for testimonials. You could set up a survey so that if somebody completes it, you've actually got a testimonial at the end. But I think testimonials are something a little bit separate from this. It's not my intention to do that with a survey, but we do use forms to ask people for testimonials, etc., to give them some of a, some form of a framework to give you feedback in. But I fully agree with you. So you should be very careful about how frequently you ask for this. And also don't necessarily automate the request for these things. I would rather say have it in your process that if we, if it's a brand new client, you want to gauge their experience. If it is there's a claim that was paid, how was that? And then annually I will ask them about my service, etc. So, very important point. Thanks, Neil. Okay, so how can you distribute this? And I would just back on that point is that if I was going to do a survey, I would let people know before the time. Listen, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. We're going to be sending this out. We really appreciate your help. You can win an iPad or an eraser or something, that if you complete this, whatever it will be, because I've seen, like, if you can incentivize people, some people will help you because there's a good relationship and others need some motivation. But you can sort of have a pre-launch of the survey, kind of some marketing campaign to make people aware that this is coming and why you're doing it and why you need their help. And you can do that in various ways. But then when the actual survey is done, or it's been designed and created, to send it out. Obviously, there's different ways of doing a survey. You could just literally ask your 5 or 10 questions or whatever, however many questions, put it in an email and send it out. But again, then we'll sit with the issue about how do we analyze this when it comes back and the standard answers, etc., etc. You'll often see this, like when you deal with a company, you'll get an SMS to say, please rate Pompey's and his service and whether you would recommend us or not. So that's usually the kind of thing that you get. So you'll click on it and you'll just reply with a 1 or a 2 or a 3. So you could do SMS kind of stuff. You could send a form that you printed via snail mail. I think that's going to become fashionable when people can get out the house. They will even want to go to the post office. But you could do that. It's obviously more costly but that is another way of doing it. Let them fill in the form and send it back to you. It's a very manual process, but it's definitely an option. You can obviously have your team phone clients and do it telephonically with them. You could do it that way. But my favorite way is using online surveys. There's so many online tools, and I'm going to share 2 free ones with you today and 1 paid one. And depending on your needs and what it is that you want to do, you can use that. But there's so many of them available that you can just go and Google and you will find too many, and you won't know which one to choose because there's too many options. But I think those are some of the ways that you could distribute your survey and get it out to the people that you really want to get it out to. So if I look at the different software options, so now I want to focus specifically on online surveys and what you can do from that perspective. And let me just start off with saying, like, the reason why I prefer online surveys is, well, one, when the results come in, it's collated. It is analyzed automatically. If you set it, depending on how you set it up, there would be results. There would be, I could export it. I could do a whole host of things with it already there. And it's, once that happens, there's a big chunk of manual work that I'm cutting out from that point of view. And also, if I want to change something, so imagine this, let's just say you made a spelling mistake, or for some reason you skipped a question, and now you send this all out by snail mail, or you send an email to everybody and that kind of thing. And then just after you did it, you find out that, oh crap, I made a mistake. Then you can go like, no, it's fine. Online survey, fix it. It's fixed for everybody. Okay. So, or you missed a question, let's add a question there, kind of thing. So it's really, I think the flexibility from online forms just makes sense. They work on any device, whether it's on a mobile device, a tablet, a laptop, desktop. It works everywhere. It works in your browser, so it doesn't even matter what operating system you're on. So all of those things, I think, are good reasons for this. So I want to share with you 3 of them just very quickly. I'm going to go into them, creating a few. So, well, I've already created some of them, but I just want to show you sort of what they look like. So here on the screen, you can see this is Google Forms. So the first one is Google Forms. So you can just go forms.google.com. You'll be able to go in there. You'll need a Google account, obviously, to do this. And you can go create all various types of forms. So this is actually, as it says, Google Forms. But you can do surveys, you can do quizzes, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. And it's completely free. Now, the thing with a free form is that, number one, is that you don't have all the options you may want, because if you want to do things like branching, maybe they don't offer branching. So what branching is if you ask a question and based on the answer, it knows which question to ask next. So you could say, well, if the answer is yes, ask these questions. If the answer is no, ask these questions. And you can actually have different surveys for different people depending on the answers that they are giving. So if you want that kind of thing, usually you go to the paid versions, but I'll show you Microsoft Forms can do that. I don't think that Google Forms can do that. I didn't go into so much detail. But here you can see I've got quite a number of forms. So I've got my refresher survey, which I'll share with you, that I did earlier in the year. There was the webinar poll as well that I did, so I can maybe share both of them. And then all the feedback forms for our online courses are hosted here. And the nice thing is that I can create it here. I can either send people directly to the form on Google, or I can embed it in my website. So these things were embedded on my website so that they go to my website and complete it on a page on my website. But it was created here in Google Forms. So this is completely free. Then the next one is Microsoft Forms. So this is what it looks like. So I'm going to look at the rate hour service. I'm going to show you how to build that. And then which ecosystem is your business built on? This is the poll that you completed earlier. So I'm going to go into that. And then SurveyMonkey, Quibber's already spoken about this. There's actually a couple of others that I've used before that works just as well. But SurveyMonkey is the one, but it comes at a price. So if I can go here to plans and pricing, I'll just quickly share with you how much this actually costs, because there are different options. All right, here we go. So there you can see, so it's quite, you've got this, there is a free version, by the way. I'll show you the free version in a second, but you're very, very limited in terms of what you can do. So here you can do it for $249 a month, and you see it's per user per month. The standard one, which will give you unlimited surveys. So all of the plans will give you unlimited surveys, but what they do is they limit the number of questions per survey. So if you're asking less than 10 questions, no problem. If you want to ask more than 10 questions, then you need to pay for a higher amount. And the nice thing about this is that you could, for a month, upgrade to the one and then downgrade back to that. But also you need to see that sometimes you need to pay in advance for these things as well, even though they show you a monthly user fee. So you need to be just look at what options are and what they're giving you. For example, on Flex, I can't do my own logo and my own colors and those kind of things. And I'm still paying for this. So the same on the free one, I can't have my own logo and my own things on there. So you really need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve and which tool is going to do that for you most cost effectively. If there are very interesting things that you want to do and you feel like you need the power of a more robust kind of tool, then obviously you would know to come and look at SurveyMonkey for that. And these are personal plans. Then you've got business plans as well, where they offer other kinds of structures and options and things that you are getting. So there you go, from $3.90 per user per month, but you need at least 3 users, you see. So if you're a bigger business and a team, that kind of thing, then this would probably be a good option for you. But most of you will I think, look at the personal plans. So I'm not going to go into SurveyMonkey today and how it works, etc. If you get the concepts from Google Forms and from Microsoft Forms, you will know what you can do in SurveyMonkey, but know that you can have it on steroids over there if you wanted to. All right, so on that note, let's go into, I've looked at the survey options, so we can now go and create this. Let me just first look at the comments. So Koba says the survey must be simplistic, preferably multiple choice, short, less than 10 questions. Yep, I agree. Less than 5 minutes to do, preferably 1. Try to include at least a name for action. Yes. And that's why I say you need to understand, if you're asking something very controversial, you may want to make it anonymous, because people will be more inclined to give their honest opinion in that sense. If it is just rating service or getting feedback on an idea or products or services, then yes, I would want to know exactly who I am, in fact, talking to. Kevin says, I use JotForm, paid version for various online forms and surveys, as well as Google Forms. See, this is so great because I've never heard of JotForms. And this is what's great about the community, where people share their resources with us and we can go check these different things out. So thank you very much, Kevin. I really appreciate it. Quibbles also says that surveys, I proposition the survey online link with content on WhatsApp broadcast, and with my clients stay in touch. Email distribution, thereby it is personalized and productive. Yes, absolutely. That's why I say, so you can, if you can have sort of make them aware that this is coming, then you send it out. So you can use all of these different tools the same way we've been communicating anything else with them from that point. Let me quickly see. Neil says, when asking for a rating, always have an even number of options so people can't choose the middle option. Yes, so that you can do. And also we'll have a look at it. I like, a lot of people say, well, rate me out of 5 stars. But there's a hell of a difference between 3 out of 5 and 7 out of 10. So I would like, depending on how detailed you want to go, I would put more stars or more numbers or whatever there, if you want to be more specific. So I agree with what you were saying. All right. So let me quickly show you the form that I have created in Google Forms, and I will do a new form in a second, but let me just show you where we are in terms of this. So this was my my refresher survey that I asked the questions. You can have different sections. So you can see I've got section 1 of 4, section 2 of 4, and each of these can be separate pages so that it's not this long form that everybody needs to. So there's a lot to go into the thinking about designing these things. But you want to like break things down into pages if you can, or group them into things that sort of belong together. But simply what I did, and let me just maybe quickly give you some insight about what my thinking was and why I did it in a very specific way, because that's important. I get a lot of feedback from people saying, but I don't see my answer there, or I want to be able to choose more than one answer. I had a very particular approach to this survey. So normally if I do a survey, I would always give you another option, or I would say, well, choose which one, or I would even break it down and say, which is your primary concern, and then ask the same question, but what would be your secondary concern? So what are the other options you would also always choose or also have chosen, but which one are you most likely to choose, kind of thing. So, but then it got too long. So for me, I was just thinking like, all I want to know is if you really only had one choice, if you couldn't choose anything else, what would you have chosen? Because I was trying to figure out what was most important right now. So at this point in time, and that was sort of the thinking behind it. So there you go. What do you expect to be covered in a refresher workshop? So asking the question, what is a refresher? How do you define a refresher workshop is really what I was asking here. So do you focus on a specific topic? technical topic, or do you focus on an entire client journey? And hence why we did the first financial planning refresher last month, and then only provide an update on legal and regulatory updates, that kind of thing. Because I look at other refreshers that are available, and it's not really financial planning refreshers. It's more like, okay, what happened in the legislative space in the last year, or things like that, and then maybe one or two interesting things. But I always ask the question is, what is relevant to my audience, and what do they want to know? It doesn't help me going like, these are all these weird and wonderful cases with this person that had 500 billion rands of assets and things like that, because most of us don't deal with those types of clients. So I wanted to figure out, like, if I work with my client base, what is important to you? And that's why we did this. So then what format works best for you? So you see, that was a separate section. So we went, a refresher workshop should be half day or full day, because I wanted to know the time frame, and it's interesting. I'll show you the results when I get to the analyzing part. A refresher workshop is best offered face-to-face online. Okay, so here's where people would say, oh, I don't mind, I would want both. No, but if you have to choose one, I want to know. And I said online live specifically here. I prefer to attend refreshers on which day of the week. You see, we had every day there except Sundays. So then you go on, what do you expect during the workshop? And then I asked, do you just want to sit there, listen, take notes and leave? Or do you actually want to work on a case study? Or what do you want to do? And do you want to work on your own, or do you want to work in a group? And it was very interesting to see the feedback there from that. And then also, because a big part of our expenses is printing stuff for people. And I swear people throw those things away. So I asked the question, what is important to you in terms of learning material that you receive as part of this refresher? Do you want a printed book? Or do you want to be able to download the book? Do you want a copy of the slides? Do you want templates? Are these things important to you? And it was also very interesting. And here you can see, usually when you see like a circle, it'll be a one choice. You can't have multiple choice. But if it's a square, then it's a selection. So then you can choose more than one option from there. So you can see that the thinking that goes into the answers. Do you only want one answer, or do you want multiple answers? Because if I ask this question in the same way, I will enjoy a refresher workshop most if I can just sit and listen, or practice. And you mark all three because you're okay with all three. It's cool for me to know that you're okay with all three, but I want to know specifically, like, what do you actually prefer? Because that gives me a much better indication. Now that I know what I know, I can go deeper into this. And you can see here at the top, we had 29 responses. So it's not like I had hundreds of responses, but still, I think the input that I got was fairly spread all over South Africa, by the way. So that was also cool. My first priority to refresh is, you see, what is at the moment most important to you? And that is where the financial planning refresher came from, because most people said, I want a general refresher on all areas of financial planning. So what I offered was focused on what people said to me in this survey. Then I asked, where are you? So which town are you in? You could choose a province. So it was a drop down where you can choose your province. And you see where, obviously I didn't have a list of all the towns. If I had, I would have put down a list. But at least I've got this, because you don't want people spelling Mpumalanga in different ways, because then it's very hard to sort of see the results at the end. And then I asked, so they could offer me their email address voluntarily. So I asked, if you would like us to communicate the final results with you, please provide your email address. But otherwise, this was a completely anonymous form. I don't know who it is, because I created a link, a general link, which I then posted on my website, and I just sent it out, and whoever wanted to complete this, because it wasn't important for me to know who's telling me this stuff. It was more important for me to just see what people are thinking about this. Alrighty, so that is the refresher survey. If I then go to Microsoft Forms, and I can quickly show you this morning's one. So here I've got which ecosystem your business is built in. I'm going to show you just how simple this is. This is what it looks like. This is how I built this. So just asking the question, so at least there's a name for the survey. And I asked one question, so it was a poll. The previous one was a survey, because I asked more than one question, and I was trying to determine a number of things from this. But to this morning, all I wanted to know was to say, well, which software providers, communication, word processor, and spreadsheet solutions do you primarily use in your business? And I was sitting thinking, and I only came up with the idea 20 minutes before the show, and I quickly did this. And so I could have maybe framed the question better and have a description and things like that. But basically what I want to know is, what are you using? Are you using G Suite with Gmail and Google Docs and you pay for it? or are you using the Microsoft version of that? And then because I couldn't think of anything else, I added another option so that if people wanted to give me other options, they can do that. But you can see here, this is a poll. It was very easy to do, to set up. And I'm going to build one quickly so that you can see. I'll maybe start with a Google form and that. But there's the responses. So it says doesn't have any responses yet. That is very, very interesting because there was a number of responses that came in. So let's see. There you go. Refresh, brother. Okay, 10 responses. There's the average time to complete. You see here, I can see it, so it's still active. So nobody's using G Suite. I've got 2 people who responded who says they use the standalone version of Microsoft. In other words, you buy your package, and if you want to upgrade, you got to buy again, or are you on the subscription basis? So here you can see the breakdown, and then other. I don't know what other is, but I can go to view results. So all I can see here, you see, is respondent 1, and you see, and this is interesting to see that the other option here was given was Microsoft, but yet I've given Microsoft. You see, so people understand these things differently, and you can go through a combination of to cloud-based 365. So it's a combination of different things. So you can see this, that by giving that, you get a bit of a better understanding. But this was all of the. So we've had how many? 10 people respond to this. And you can go see all of this. All right. So, yeah, great stuff. So that is basically what you can see. I can open this in Excel. So I can export it to Excel, which is great. And I can manipulate things there further to get other sort of graphs and insights and things if I've got more questions. And I maybe want to see other stuff. Because sometimes we ask things in these surveys that I can use for other purposes as well. Or maybe there's a trend. And then I say, oh, but how can I analyze this further based on what I've already got? And maybe the system doesn't really show it in that way, so you are able then to go back and do that as well. All right, so that is the what that looks like. So let me go here to Forms Home. I just want to show you how easy it is to create this, and I don't want to run out of time. But let me just show you just how quickly this is. So I can obviously do one of 2 things. I can use some form of a template here at the top. Or I can just go and create a blank form, which I'm going to do. While it's loading, let me see quickly. Cool stuff. Alrighty, so it'll open up like this. There's an untitled form, so I can put in my form here. So let's just say rate my service, for example. You can put a form description in there if you want to explain what it's about. You don't have to. Then it gives you your first question, and this is a radio button question. And here on the side, you can see I can add questions. I can import questions if you've got it in a CSV type setup. You can import it. You can add titles and descriptions. You can add images. You can add a video if you want to explain something, and you can add a new section. So all of that here on the side. So that works well. What you do is you click on the question. It'll open up, and here's where I can choose. Well, it is a multiple choice question. Okay, but there, if I click on that drop down, it'll give me its multiple choice, but only one. I can only select one answer. Check boxes, it's still multiple choice, but I can select multiple answers. I can have a drop down, so you'll give all the values, but the person needs to click on the drop down. It opens the drop down. You click on your option, and it then shows that as the answer. You can do file uploads here if you want to. Then linear scale, you can have a multiple choice grid, so where you have a matrix that you've got, but the options are you can just select one in each row as an option, or you can have a checkbox grid where you can have multiple things that you can select within that grid, and then dates and times and things like that. At the top here, you can do short answers or paragraphs. So short answers would be asking for names, email addresses, things like that. So let's change this first one to a short answer, and I can say what is your, and there is a way to do these forms as well, to show what is the to include the person's email address when you send it to them from the system, but I don't want to go that far today. So what is your email address? Okay, they can then fill it in here, and you can say, you can put some validation in here to say, well, what should this be? So this is text if you wanted to do this. So this is if you've got response validation. If you want to make sure that what they put in there is what you think it is, So I'm just going to remove that because that's not necessary. When I go to the ellipsis here, I can add a description here if I wanted to. So you have to go do that and say, we need this to send you the results, for example. So whatever you want to, sometimes you need to explain a question further. You want to do that. And then, as I say, yes, also where you can add this. And the other thing is you can make it required or not required. So if the person must complete the field, you can make it required. And also, once I've got this question, I can very easily duplicate the question. So there's the first question that we had there at the top. And now it takes all the settings we've got from that, copies it in, and I can just maybe change what is your name, for example. So you can do that kind of thing. All right. Then once I've got this, again, you'll go to send here at the top. So you'll click send, and there's many different ways. You can send it via email directly from here. You can get a link to go from here, and you can even shorten it to have a short little link. And then you can also have the embed code. So this is the code that you need in order to get it onto your website for that. And whoever helps you with your website can help you do that if you can't do it yourself. But everything is here. You can do all of that from here. This is where you can change the theme. So you can choose a color for your theme here. You can have a background color. You can have all sorts of stuff that you can change. You can even choose a header image if you want to use a particular image. So there's so much you can do. I just want to make you aware. This isn't like, if you want specific training on this, I can put something like that together. But for now, I just want to make you aware that this is how simple it is. It's really, really easy to do this. You can preview the form by clicking on the little eye there. And that's what the form would look like based on the settings that you've chosen. And you can see how that would work. The other thing that you could do is when you go here to responses, the nice thing here, because you'll be able to see all the responses here collectively and individually, is that I can set to get an email notification for my new responses. So you can do that as well. So that every time somebody completes it, you just get an email to say somebody has completed your survey. All right. So that is Google Forms. Very simply. This works basically the same. So I'm not going to build it here. I just want to show you quickly the form that I did create before the time. And so this was the rate hour service. So this is what this would look like. So all I did was rate hour service. And I want to show you something here that I did, which I think is pretty nifty. Before I go into this, I need the name because now I'm rating my service. So I want to know who's giving me the feedback. I need their email address so I can communicate with them. And then I've got this little star system. And if I click on it, I can decide how many stars do I want, anything up to 10. So I can change this to have 10 stars. So depending on how precise I want to be, but also it doesn't have to be stars. It can also be numbers. So you can also have the typical rate me on a scale of 1 to 10 kind of setup to do that. I like the stars. It's a little bit more fun, etc. So it is as simple as just clicking to the side and it is saved. But also now here's the nice thing. If you go here into the side and you go to settings, well, on the ellipsis there's multilingual. So what I've done is I've added a second language here for Afrikaans. So now if I do the preview for you, what's nice is here at the top, it's in English. But look at this. When I choose Afrikaans, boom, there it goes. In Afrikaans, lekker. Okay, and you can have any language there that you want because you go and type in these things. The only thing that is already converted to Afrikaans would be these voor jou antwoord and these standard things that are in there. This disclaimer here at the bottom, that you can't change, unfortunately. That is from Microsoft. So if your language that you want to use is not in the list, those things won't be translated, unfortunately. But in this case, Afrikaans is one of the ones there. So there you can see. And it's one form. The person can choose what they prefer. And there you go. So this is really, really beautiful, I think. And this is very, very simple. And to choose a theme, you would just go there. You can really make it fun, whatever it is that you want to use. So let me see. Maybe there's something that is appropriate to use. Let me just use this one. It's literally the click of a button. And there you go. And you have a form that looks nice. Okay, that's what it will look like in preview. Alrighty, cool stuff. So that is creating these surveys. And I see that we are on 55 minutes, so I'm almost done. I think the next thing that once you've got these forms and you've sent it out and you've gotten your feedback from clients is that now you would want to analyze what they have said to you. And I've already sort of quickly shown you the Microsoft Forms where we did the little poll this morning and what the responses were. But let me just go into where is my refresher again on Google Forms. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to show you what the results look like in this. So I would go here to, if it's finished loading, I would then go to the responses. And let's see. So it's now loading the responses. And there you can see. So already from this point of view, it's depending on the type of questions I chose and how many options they've got, it will already sort of choose the best sort of graph that you would want to know. And I want to show you how beautiful this is, because this is now at a glance giving me like, oh, okay, so a refresher workshop should be 41% of people said focus on an entire client journey. Okay. And you can see here, because, there's some of the things that we allowed in other, and they say all of the above, time dependent, the entire journey would be great. So it doesn't, if you look at those, then it's just that somebody maybe didn't have a particular preference. On the other side, depending on my time on the day, I would rather want so it does tell you that this is by far was the most or the biggest need from the people who responded to this without me asking a leading question. It was simply like, what do you prefer? This, or this? And that was it. Formats that work best for you. Here you can see like half day is by far, like 62% of people want half day. And there's also people that say full day is great. So you know what, maybe based on that split, I may do both. It may be worth doing both, because there's not a clear winner, although you could say that 62% is a clear winner. Face-to-face, the same thing. It'll be very, very interesting to see if I do this again now, after people have experienced some refreshers online and people have attended webinars and things a lot more than they used to in the past, what they would say yes. So that'll be quite interesting to do a post-lockdown kind of situation. I prefer to attend a refresher. Here you can see this is very difficult because there were 6 options. Which day? There was one person, one person who said they would want to do it on a Saturday, which I actually thought there would be more people. If you're so busy, you never have time, to do a refresher once a year or twice a year or something on a Saturday may very well. One of the SME Africa events that Manus Broodryk and then presented was on a Saturday. And in my opinion, that is still the best one I ever attended, because I wasn't rushed. It wasn't late in the evening. It was a morning thing. It was just, I had the rest of the day to go do whatever I wanted to do. So a Saturday is actually not a bad idea, in my opinion. But yeah, obviously here you can see clearly a Tuesday. And it makes sense, because I've always said that Tuesday is the best day for training for this reason. Monday, you come in, you sort out all your crap. Tuesday, you can invest into what it is that you want to do, but you still have the rest of the week to go and see people. So I don't know, mentally it just works better that way, and most people prefer it that way. But also then you can see Fridays or Thursday they were equally fine. So there was only one more person that said Tuesday is better. So actually Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's hard to then sort of, okay, what do we choose? So we try different things and see what works best. But I've always done them on a Tuesday, so that's mainly what I'm doing. Sometimes now I do it on a Wednesday as well, just depending on what's going on. What do you expect during the workshop? You can see, and this was interesting to me, because my whole thing about the refresher is my workshops are about being practical. I want you to work out the stuff. But half the people said, no, I just want to sit and listen. So I changed the way I do things based on that. But still, a little bit more than half the other people would want to work on something specifically. So don't lose that out of mind, because basically this is saying we want to work. So again, do I offer both? There's a sit and listen version, and then there's a sit and do version. I don't know. Then also it was interesting to see what people want. So there was some people who said they wanted printed slides, but most of them I want to be able to download them afterwards and I can see what is more valuable to people. And then this is where it came from. The general refresher was by far the biggest request. Most people were from Joburg. You can see there's Kimberley, Durban. So we've had really across the range, people from everywhere really responding to this. And there you can see obviously the most in Gauteng, but we had the response from almost all the provinces, if not all of them. And that was it. So this is what you can see. And then I can move this to in this case, a Google spreadsheet. If I've got it in a Google spreadsheet, I can download it as an Excel spreadsheet from there. And then I can work with it further and have other things that I want to see. So there you can see, and this is what you've got. I mean, it gives you very nice insights. I did a very simple survey. It took people like literally 2 minutes to complete because it was click, 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 and it's nothing you have to really think about from that point of view. And then the same I already showed you on Google Forms. Alrighty, so that is the analyzing part of it. When you go through analyzing the responses, I think what I just want to talk about here is that you can look at the overall results and you can look at the individual results. And then what you can do is to either export this to Excel or you can PDF it. I mean, we PDF this and I sent it on the feedback to the people that asked me to send it back to them. I made this available back to them because that's also a nice thing to do, is specifically if you're testing ideas or looking for certain things, to let them know what you found in the survey. Because how often don't you ever hear what was the outcome of that survey? Lots of people say they will give you feedback and they never give you feedback. So it's important that if you say you're going to give feedback, that you give the feedback. But yeah, and I wouldn't communicate all the results always, because if you're just rating service for a particular individual, you don't want to, like, if you see like everybody's rating us 5, at some point you're going to say, well, we on average get a 4.8 out of 5 rating for our service. That is important to communicate. But you're not going to communicate, oh, Francois said this, or Pity said that, or Anonymous said this. So it doesn't make sense in that sense. But when you do a survey like this, I think people are interested to see what other people want as well. And then you understand why we do things in a particular way. Alrighty, so then the question becomes, well, what now? So now I've done my survey, I've got my results, I've analyzed it, I've noticed certain trends. What now? Well, what you do depending on your setup, but I would say you discuss the results with your team, be it your assistant, be it your partner, be it your wife. Doesn't matter who you talk to, but you need to discuss these results with someone to see whether you're interpreting and seeing the same things and what you think about that. Then you need to decide, like, okay, so let's say we've identified certain trends or we've identified an issue. Do we need more information about it, or do we have enough information to take action and to make a decision? If you feel that you need more information, you can do a further survey on that. Okay, if it's a specific individual, pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. If it is like a big survey that you did and it's a lot of people that responded, then obviously you may want to do a further survey on that specific thing that you've identified. So that is one of the things you need to consider. Then you can create an action plan. You need to decide, like, which one of these things, or which 2 or 3 of these things am I going to implement and change for the better in my business. And then you need to have an action plan. What is going to be done first, second, and last, and what are we not going to do? I think that is important. And then obviously you need to implement those changes, and then you need to track it. You need to monitor them and see how is it doing, And when you make these changes, it's very important that you communicate it to your clients to say, listen, based on your feedback, we are making these changes. Or even before that, you can say, listen, we are planning to do this. So send it to a subsection of your clients and say, based on the feedback we got, we realized there's an opportunity here, or there was an issue here. These are the things we're doing. What do you think about it? Get the input before the time, and then you can implement and then monitor and see what is happening. That is how I use surveys. I don't do it a lot. I think polls is something that you can use a lot more because it's one question. I want to know this. I want to know that. Some of these things you can incorporate into your email itself, because that's the other thing. Once you've got the link for this form, you can say, let's say, rate my service. You can just, in your email signature, have a little link there, say, please rate my service. And whenever I want to go click on it, I can click on it. If I don't want to click on it, I don't click on it. But you're not in my face about give me feedback, give me feedback, give me feedback. So that is definitely a power tip that I can give you there from that point of view. I don't see any further questions. Let me see quickly. Alan over on LinkedIn. Alan says, thank you, Francois. Highly relevant as usual, especially as we move towards a more virtual working environment. Absolutely. Frans Harting says, it's very informative session, Francois. Thank you. Definitely something I'm going to do. Great stuff. And then Neil says, another interesting, thought-provoking session. Thanks, Neil. It's a pleasure. And on that, I don't see anything here over on YouTube. So from my side, please remember to go and subscribe, to sign up for the business assurance workshop, or the refresher rather. I look forward to having you there. Otherwise, have a fantastic Saturday. Buy something, or don't, I don't know, but spend some time with your family. I'm going to. Got some other things I need to do as well. So we'll do that. But for me, just have a fantastic Saturday. I'll see you back tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and enjoy. Thank you very much.